All right, thanks for being here this morning. And thanks for all you do. If nobody noticed, President Obama gave a speech this morning. And with all the prep that's gone into that, it's a very important moment for us. So I want to put it in context, how I see it, and how the command goes. I can tell you that beginning with that speech this morning and all the work that's been done, a tremendous number of things are going to happen, and they are good things that are going to happen. We're also going to get an awful lot of scrutiny in the press. And so I'm going to ask you as you go forward, if you're asked, speak your mind, but don't speak my mind unless you're me. So don't speak for me unless I ask you to, because it's going to be very important that we be clear about what we are doing, because the whole world is going to be watching and the whole world is going to be listening. Everyone from our closest allies to our enemies. And they have got to understand that we are of one mind and focused. As I mentioned, today begins a significant moment. But we've got history here. NATO ISAF has been here for 8 years, since December of 2001. And before we go on, I'd like to stop and just offer a moment of silence for all the people who have served here, all the people who have lost their lives as part of this coalition, or those who have suffered life-changing injuries. Okay. Thank you. Okay, let's talk about where we are now. We started with a coalition of 8 nations. There are now 43 nations that are partnered. That's more than a quarter of the world's nations. And things are different. They're different in the effort we're in. They're different in this fight. And beginning with what happened this morning with the commitment that was signaled, I think we're at an inflection point. To paraphrase Winston Churchill, I don't think this is the end. I don't even think it's the beginning of the end. But I do believe it's the end of the beginning. And I believe as we go forward, we're going to have new resolve and new focus. Now, why do I think things are different? If you could put the slide up for me. We've got 4 things that I think are significantly changed, and I'll take you through those. The first is clarity. We have a new clarity in our mission. As it was outlined by President Obama this morning from the United States standpoint and by the Secretary General recently for NATO, we have clarity in what it is we are here to do. And we are here to provide the government of Afghanistan and our Afghan partners time, space, and capability to defend their sovereignty. And standing between them and that is an insurgency that we have been fighting and that we will now take on with even greater vigor. We have greater clarity also on the enemy. The enemy has spoken much recently. You've seen Mullah Omar's statements. You've seen what they are trying to do, the establishment of shadow governors. We understand the opposition better than we ever have before. We have greater clarity on ourselves. We are a tighter team. We have stood up commands. We have reorganized the way we operate so that we know each other better. And that's extraordinarily important, not only in coalition warfare, but in any effort. And we have clarity in how difficult and challenging this task can be, but how important it is. And finally, we have clarity with the Afghan people. As we have shifted the way we operate to a better counterinsurgency effort, we've established relationships with the people that we are here to respect and the people we are here to protect and the people we are here to enable. And that gives us a much greater ability to understand what it is we are trying to do and why we are sacrificing as much as we are. When you go out and watch where we are operating, you can see this on the ground. In Logar province, there's an area, Baraki Barak. Some months ago, it was almost under complete insurgent control. Now, with a partnership between coalition forces, Afghan forces, and local government, and some smart counterinsurgency techniques, some reinforcement of local leadership, violence is down, something like 80%. And it's all because we link up and we partner and we make it work. Starting today with the announcement of 30,000 additional U.S. forces and the expectation that we will have additional coalition forces as well, we also have additional capability. But many people thought that we were waiting for forces only to increase our capability, and that's not the case. As you know, starting last summer, we began a number of changes to increase what we were able to do. And because we've all been so busy, sometimes it's hard to put all of those into perspective. First off, organizationally, what have we done? We've stood up an intermediate joint command, a 3-star headquarters, so our regional commands are now linked to the equivalent of a corps headquarters. That provides us the ability to do levels of command and control and synchronization that we could never do before. That also freed the ISAF headquarters. It changed this headquarters into a new entity. We are now a 4-star headquarters focused on what we would say up and out. Its interface with elements of the government of Afghanistan, senior leadership in Afghan defense. It's focused on regional partners. It's focused on our NATO masters, the people who resource us. And it allows us to have complementary efforts that are much more powerful than we have had in the past. Just recently, we took what was the effort under Sistika Alpha to train Afghan National Army and Afghan National Police to help them grow and develop so that they can defend Afghanistan. And we stood up NATO training mission Afghanistan. It is now a coalition effort, and it is our main effort. Developing the capability of Afghan national security forces is the most important thing we do in the future. At the end of the day, Afghanistan must be defended by Afghans. And that's what we will build, with enabling the Afghans to do that over the coming months and years. We've also stood up recently a task force to work on transferring detainee operations to Afghan control. And that's a necessary step for us as well. As you know, in addition to those, we've changed some of the ways we operate. We've changed just the briefings you're in, the commanders' update briefs, the commanders, the KUAs that we have. We've linked people in ways we've never linked before. We push information faster and with greater clarity, and that gives us the ability to focus. And we do it as a team now. We're a